We're going to have some fun in this video. I've got a drum kit loaded in instead of my piano sound that I've been using, so I can trigger drums with my keyboard now. Like that. So what I want to do is I want to show you how some very basic drum grooves are constructed using simple rhythms and simple subdivisions like we've looked at in the last few videos. Let's start by deconstructing a very basic rock beat into its simple components. I'm going to lay the parts down one at a time, and you'll see how they're created. So that's simple eighth notes on a hi-hat sound. It looks like this. And it's notated in bass clef, but the pitch is actually irrelevant since this is a non-pitched sound. There are clefs that are used for drums. I don't want to get into that right now, but this is just notated by default. Let's add a kick drum on beats 1 and 3. So now we have a simple kick drum part, just on 1 and 3 with quarter note rests on 2 and 4. Let's add a snare drum now on 2 and 4. So there we have 3 parts all playing together. We have the snare now with quarter note rests on 1 and an actual hit on beat 2. And all combined together we get a nice basic rock groove. Let's get rid of the bass drum part and put in something a little bit more rhythmically interesting. I'm going to add some eighth notes. So let's see what that looks like. There we go. 3 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4. Simple eighth notes and quarter note rests. Let's replace it and put something a little bit more complicated in. I'm going to do some similar patterns with other eighth notes. Let's see what that looks like. And 2 and 3, 4. Simple eighth notes, quarter notes, and eighth note rests. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. Let's try and replace the snare drum and put some different parts in there. Let's see what that looks like. Two, 3, 4. So again, simple eighth notes, quarter notes, and in this case, 16ths and 16th rests. 1, 2, 3, 4 E and A. 1, 2, 3 E and A. So this is the third beat here. 3 E. So we're falling on the second 16th note. 3 E and A, and then 4 E and A. So again, all together. Simple rhythmic subdivisions. Now I want to touch on one other thing here before we move on. I'm going to take these and I'm going to merge them together, and I want to show you another method or another way of viewing notation data. Now I feel I'd be remiss in doing a course on basic music theory without touching on this type of view. This is a standard grid type editor that almost all modern software has, and really in modern times, in my very humble opinion, this is a legitimate part of music notation and needs to be touched on at the very least. Here we see the bars at the top. It's a 2-bar pattern, and there are all the rhythmic subdivisions, and the notes are laid out on a grid based on the piano keyboard on the side. So there are my eighth notes on the hi-hat, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and occupying this bar, and then the same thing there. Now all these markings are grid divisions. So we see here the bass drum, 1 and 2 and 3. That corresponds with beat 3. 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. So there are the divisions, and the snare drum, there's beat 2. These darker lines correspond to the stronger pulses, and beat 4, and then one on the last 16th of beat 4. And you can see that the length of the note I played extends over the bar line. Beat 2, and then the second 16th note of beat 3. Since there's 3, there's the second 16th, third, and fourth. And then beat 4, one on the first 16th and on the last 16th. So this is another way of viewing and dealing with traditional music notation, and of course notes can be edited here. That goes a bit beyond the scope of these videos, but I just did want to touch on this. So let's go back to our notation view, and let's put down some different types of patterns. I'm going to delete that and start over, and let's look at a basic bossa nova pattern. And again, it's nothing more than combinations of these simple rhythms. I'm going to start with the hi-hat. So same thing, simple eighth notes. And let's add a kick drum pattern on now, and it's just quarters and eighth notes. 2, 3. So let's look at the kick drum part. And now I'm going to add on a clave part. And again, simple eighth notes and quarter notes and eighth note rest and some syncopations. 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's look at that. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, 4. Very simple, basic bossa nova pattern. This is called a clave rhythm. This is actually a reverse clave because I'm playing the second half of it first and then the first half after that in the second bar. Let's try and replace the hi-hat part with something a little bit more rhythmically interesting. So all I've done there are put groups of eighth and 2/16 notes. So there's 1 E and a, and that's just repeated on all the bars. Let me zoom this so we can see it all. There it is. It's only 2 bars long, but there it is. Just an eighth and 2/16 repeated over again. Let me show you one more variation here. We're going to look at a double time samba feel. So let me get rid of this kick and snare, and we'll leave the hi-hat part actually. Or let's redo it. I'm going to do it on a ride cymbal. Here we go. So there we have a ride cymbal playing that same pattern, an eighth and 2/16, and I'm going to add a hi-hat on just on beats 2 and 4. Or actually, because it's double time, it's going to be on all the off beats. So all we have is a hi-hat on all the off beats. Let's add a kick pattern in now. 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's look at what that's doing. Simple dotted eighth and 16th on each beat. 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, 1 EN, a 2 EN, a 3 EN, a 4 EN, a 1 EN, a 2 EN, a 3. And let's add the clave part in now, doing that reverse clave again. 2, 3, 4. So there's the part there. It's a little bit more rhythmically nuanced in this double time feel, but 1 and 2 E and 3 E and 4 and 3 4 and 1 and 2 E 3 4 and. Let's get rid of that and add another part using the clave and a tom-tom. We'll do something a little simpler. Let's look at that. 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4 and a 1 and 2. So the upbeat of 1 on the clave, and then on beat 2, the last 2/16 note. 1 and 2 E and a. So you can see how these complex sounding grooves are really constructed of just very simple little rhythmic subdivisions like we've been looking at. I want to end off with one more groove. I want to show you a really basic, simple driving disco beat. You'll see how easy this is to program up. And again, I'll do it one part at a time. Straight 16th notes on a hi-hat. And let's put down straight quarter notes on the bass drum. That's all we have, just straight quarter notes. And let's add a snare drum part in. 1, 2, 3. I just did 2 and 4, and I added a couple of quiet little ghost notes in, but they're just little 16th notes. You can't see this in the notation, but they're played quieter. And this is what the whole thing sounds like. Play that a bit faster, and you got yourself a driving disco groove. Here we go. Let's bump the tempo up to about 125 beats per minute, and let's listen to that without a click. So there you go, some simple basic grooves, easy to construct based on simple rhythm patterns and rhythmic subdivisions. So have fun, try some rhythms on your own, and I'll see you in the next video.